wonderful. Okay. Hello, everybody. So it's good morning here in New York. And I guess if you're further west, it's good early morning. So, what a wonderful opportunity we have in the midst of this 17-day immersion into all things health filled and well being like. We're just here at the beginning, and who knows what kinds of miracles are possible going forward. I have certainly experienced them in my own life. I grew up as an overweight kid. I was pre-diabetic at 20, and I wanted so much to be healthy. And I remember when I was 9 years old, my dad was a doctor, and I got on his desk in his big office there, and I stood on it and I climbed up high. And somehow, I don't know how I knew, but there was a book there that was called Alimentaris Humanis. And it was an old nutrition book that he had had when he was in medical school in the 1930s. And I pulled the thing down thinking, this is going to fix me. And most of it was chemistry and formulas and stuff I didn't understand. But there was a chart. And it's interesting because Dr. Joel Fuhrman, that you probably know, did a chart similar to this for Whole Foods called the Andy chart, which showed the nutritional density of various foods. But this was long ago. And I was reading about these foods that give you the most power for your nutritional buck. It's just that I hadn't heard of any of them. So there were things like collard greens and Calais and Swiss chard. And then I'm thinking, oh, that's why I don't understand these. They're all from some other country. And then it got down to mustard greens. And I'm thinking, now that has to be a typo because everybody knows mustard is yellow. Then it got to spinach. And I knew what spinach was, at least in the can, because Popeye ate it and I ate it sometimes too. And I took the rest of the list to my mom, and it was just like, we don't eat that. It's like it was some kind of foreign substance. But as I was on my health journey, I learned that the fact that that was considered a foreign substance was a lot of the reason why I had so much trouble making peace with food, and really making peace with life. So the short version of my story is through a combination of a 12-step program for recovery of my binge eating disorder and discovering whole food plant-based nutrition, which wasn't called that then. In those days, it was you were vegetarian or you were vegan. And some people were dietary vegan, meaning they were just there for the health, and other people were all in ethical vegans, sometimes pretty healthy. In fact, back in the day, we didn't have a lot of vegan processed foods. So everybody that went vegan, whether it was for the animals or for their arteries, had some really great results in their own lives. And this is happening, of course, today more and more and more because this way of life is so well known. So I have been on the plant-based path for 54 years and fully plant-based, fully vegan for 40 years. And it just keeps getting better. So let us jump in to our presentation. Let me get this in slideshow. Aha. Okay. So when I started doing a program similar to this, and they all evolve, I called it When I'm 64 because I'm a big Beatles fan and I loved that song When I'm 64. Except that now when I talk about that song, I have to do it in the past tense and talk about when I was 64 because I just turned 74. But it works. You can sing this song for when I'm 64, when I'm 84. We're going to live this wonderful way of life. And yeah, we're going to get older. It happens. Nature is sitting over there saying, okay, I'm done. You're not having any more kids. Why don't you just move on out? But we don't have to settle for that. I mean, eventually we do. Nature's going to win. But what we want to do is have this wonderful, wonderful life where we have what the medical people call mitigation of morbidity, meaning that we get to be vibrant and doing things out in the world and living the life of our own personal dreams as long as we're here. So let us proceed. So there is this term anti-aging, and you guys, I'm sure, have heard it a lot. It's certainly out there in the cosmetic world, but what they're really saying is anti signs of ill health, anti signs of diminishment, especially when they come too early. So I might drop that phrase here and there just because it's a phrase that people understand, but we're not anti aging. We are so pro aging. We are just pro aging vibrantly and robustly and joyfully. So I want to talk first about the four components of aging. And I know this is my Magical Men program. We're going to get into that. But here for a little bit of background, let's just think about what age is. Now, certainly, if somebody says, "What is your age?" you're going to give them a number. So that's the chronological aging. That's what your driver's license has to say about you. But if you've ever been to a high school reunion, you know that people age at really different rates. A lot of that is genetic. A lot of it is just what happens in life. And, sometimes in the health world, we can get a little bit judgmental. We can say, oh, so and so isn't looking so good. I wonder what they're doing. I wonder what they're eating. I wonder if they fell off the healthy wagon. You know what? Let's just leave that behind because things happen. People that have really difficult lives, people who go through stressful experiences, it affects their health. It shows in their appearance. So we don't want to be judging ourselves by what the mirror is telling us. We just want to live in a way that's going to make everything better. So this is one of my role models, Carol Channing. She's a wonderful actress, Broadway and movies. She's known most for Hello, Dolly. And she died a couple of years ago at 98. Now, Carol has an interesting story in terms of chronological age because she was a Christian Scientist. And in Christian Science is a belief system that everything that happens on Earth is a reflection of ultimate reality. And so matter per se isn't really real. So people who are Christian Scientists don't talk about their age because it's like it's only the body and it's not real anyway. So why should I talk about my age? But when Carol Channing was 85 and still dancing on Broadway, she decided, I'm going to start telling people my age. And just like Carol, you can do whatever you want with your chronological age. You can blast it all over the internet, or you can keep it to yourself. That's your own business. But of all the aspects of aging, it's the one that is least relevant. Rest in peace, Carol. Then the next component is cosmetic aging, and that's how we appear to others. And of course, we all want to appear well at every age. We can also get really obsessed about how people look. And the fact is, things change over time. So this woman is getting herself injected, and it's to each their own. And what you want to do and what you can afford to do, God bless you. But there's so many things that we can do, even for appearance, that are more natural and cheaper. So we're going to focus more on those kinds of things. So I want to share this Vogue magazine cover. It's from about 15 years ago. And I always think that I should retire this slide because these are the Presley women, Elvis's widow, granddaughter, and daughter from left to right. And we did lose his daughter, sadly, in the past couple of years. I believe she had a reaction to a medical procedure. But the reason I find this cover so interesting is I remember seeing it on a newsstand here in New York City when it first came out. And my first thought was, it's three models. And they're all like, I don't know, 30. But then when you look closely and you realize who this is, we're talking about a grandmother, a granddaughter, and a mother. And with enough, help from the cosmetic and plastic surgery industry and fabulous lighting and great makeup, it's like we've made the then 17-year-old look 30 and the whatever 40-year-old look 30 and the 60-year-old look 30. And that's interesting that we can do that. But I don't know about you, but I have a daughter, and I'm glad that people know who's the mom and who's the daughter. Now, one thing before we leave our little intro here on the cosmetic aspects of things, I want to talk about hydration, because the one thing that you can do immediately to start looking younger is to hydrate yourself regularly and consistently. I had a cat named Henrietta. She lived to be 23, but when she was in her later years, she wasn't looking so good. Her fur was a little bit stiff and she was kind of losing weight. And, she was a 20-year-old cat. And the vet suggested that we start giving her subcutaneous fluids. And we did that twice a week. And people would come to visit and they would say, "What happened to Henrietta? She looks like a young cat." And it was really remarkable, the difference of 20-year-old cat well hydrated versus 20-year-old cat not well hydrated. And the same thing works for us. So when we talk about hydration, the first thing people think of is chugging lots of water. And it's great to drink water. But the best water comes in the plants. Now, I'll bet some of you in this wonderful room full of 121 people have been around people who are so interested in health that some people call them health nuts. And when you're around this demographic, you're likely to hear water arguments. And people are saying things like, you should only drink distilled water because it's the only pure water. Otherwise, you're going to be getting minerals and they're going to attach to your joints. They're going to exacerbate arthritis. And then other people are saying, no, you must drink mineral water. You must drink this water that has taken the minerals from the earth because we have mineral deficient diets. And then you've got the people that say, no, you're both wrong. You need to have alkaline water. And by the way, I'm selling the machines. So with all due respect to all the waters, the water that comes in fresh fruits and fresh vegetables is naturally distilled by nature. It is mineral rich with organic minerals that nobody could say is doing anything bad. And it's alkaline. So one more reason to eat lots of fruits and vegetables. And it's also nice to get yourself in a nice moist environment, at least some of the time. Not necessarily that everybody has to move to Portland, but things like steam baths and hot baths and going out walking in the rain. Wonderful thing. This book, The Water Secret, I really like it. It's not a vegetarian book. I don't agree with him on diet. But one of the things that I've learned in all these years in this work is that sometimes you just take what you like and leave the rest. This whole wonderful health movement that we're part of is not some kind of cult where there's a whole list of rules and you have to take them chapter and verse and buy everything. You take what resonates, you respect what doesn't resonate, and leave it somewhere on a back burner. And maybe one of these days you might want to look at that again. But you do what your instincts are telling you. And if it doesn't quite work, you try something else, because there's a lot of great information out there and nobody is going to do all of it. And sometimes, like in the case of this book, as an ethical vegan, I'm never going to eat the way this man eats, but that's okay. That's what he does. And we take what we like and we leave the rest. So for looking fabulous and dewy and glowy and all those wonderful things all your life long, there are some foods that your skin just wants to eat up. And we're going to talk about some of these and why they're so great. So we've got the oily foods first, the avocado, walnuts, sunflower, sesame, hemp seeds, and there are others. But this is the kind of foods that's going to give you that moistness. I know a lot of whole food plant-based people completely avoid extracted oils. There's absolutely no reason why anybody has to have extracted oils in their diet, but we do need some lubrication from these wonderful whole plant foods. And of course, walnuts, hemp seeds, and also flax seeds are high in omega-3 fatty acids, which are hard to get, and they're often outstripped by the other omega fatty acids. So getting those threes in is very important for brain health, primarily, also for heart health. Then in the next group, sweet potatoes, mangoes, papayas, melons, we're talking about beta carotene. We're talking about foods that are orange and yellow, and beta carotene is a precursor to vitamin A, so great for vision and also really good for skin. In fact, they did a really famous study where they took Caucasian people and gave them carrot juice daily for a period of time. And then there was another control group where they didn't give them any carrot juice. And then they brought in other people to look at photographs and rate these people on attractiveness. And the carrot juice drinkers evidently had this kind of golden glow that the other people didn't have. So that's the beta carotene. Now, pomegranates, grapes, we're talking purple grapes, cherries, these are anthocyanins. This is a kind of phytochemical. Phyto means plant, and there are chemicals in plants that nature put there to protect the plant. But when we eat them, we get the protection too. And it happens that these kind of blue purple foods have this anthocyanin that skin absolutely loves. Now, berries are fabulous. And the photograph here is wild blueberries. If you've ever gone berry picking and you pick the regular blueberries, you don't have to bend over very far because they're on bushes. But these little wild blueberries grow down on the ground. And they are tough little berries because when you're growing on the ground, everybody can get you. So they have evolved over millennia to be able to resist and withstand so much. If that area is completely burned out, those wild blueberries are going to come back the next season stronger than ever. Now, wild blueberries don't ship very well when they're fresh. So the way that we can get them primarily is frozen. You can also get them dried and powdered, but frozen at any supermarket, Whole Foods, Trader Joe's. And some people say, oh, but I want to eat everything fresh. I don't like it that it's been frozen. I get it. Fresh is fabulous, but frozen is actually really cool. It does very, very little damage to food. Wild blueberries are actually more nutritious frozen because that's an assault and they come back. They're an adaptogen and they come back stronger than ever with more good stuff for you. So berries, fabulous. Red and yellow peppers, strawberries, and citrus. We're talking vitamin C. So you've all heard of vitamin C serum for the skin. You want to have the vitamin C on the inside as well. And apples have something in them called pectin. That's like if you cook apples or if you're going to make apple butter or something like that, there's this kind of sticky substance. And that also is a skin protector that helps your collagen, which we start to lose in our 30s. So here are some top hacks for looking good. So sunscreen, and you want to use a natural sunscreen. We're going to be talking later about how toxic the environment is for almost all of us these days. And so anything that you can do that isn't going to put a chemical in your body that you don't need is a great thing. So with sunscreen, it's just that you got to remember to do it. So lots of times, and I'm guilty of this, I'll put it on in the morning and then I'll just go out and live my life. But it only lasts for a couple of hours. And also, you want to put it on the parts of your body that you don't think about. We look in the mirror, we see this, we forget we've got all the rest. So I live in New York City now. I've lived here for 24 years, and I almost never drive. But I used to drive a lot. I come from Kansas City, Missouri, and I was just always in my car. And so to this day, when I look at my hands, it's the left hand that's got the freckles and the age spots, way more than the right hand, simply because of all that sun exposure that I had years ago. So you want to protect your hands, you want to protect this upper chest area. Hats, sunglasses, gloves. You can even have fun online by looking up sun protective clothing. And, we could get to the point of overkill, but I do like the idea of a wonderful brimmed hat with that sun protection part of it. Just because, why not? You only get one face. Then protect your collagen with no tobacco. I'm sure you're not using tobacco, alcohol, sugar, processed foods, and we already talked about limited UV exposure. So with something like alcohol, you decide, do you want to consume that in moderation? And that means 1 drink a day for women, 2 drinks for men, or do you just want to let it go? There's this wonderful movement called Sober Curious, where people just experiment with not drinking and see if their life is better. So again, this is not the morality police. You live your life, you enjoy your life as you want to enjoy it. But there is a connection between breast cancer and alcohol, so that for women, there's really no known low level. So we can say moderate is 1 drink a day. Not sure that that's necessarily okay for everybody. So do your research, live your life. Vitamin C, we talked about. And if you use a retinol, that's put your moisture on first, then put the retinol, because that can increase your sun sensitivity, more moisturizer, and always sunscreen. The fruit acids take some of that dry, flaky kind of skin away. And you can notice this not just on the face, but as you get older, certainly on the shins and the ankle area, your skin gets thinner and it starts to kind of flake. And, you take off your yoga pants and you see, what's all this dead skin in here? Well, that's because we need to exfoliate. We need to exfoliate our whole body. When you're really, really young, like a toddler, like a little kid, you don't need to do that. They have this wonderful skin. It's all taking care of itself. And a little bit later, we need some help. And then, of course, never go to bed with a dirty face, and going to bed early will help that. So these are some books you might want to take a look at. This first one, Younger by the Day, is a classic from me. I wrote it back in 2012. It's a day book, 365 suggestions. Anti-Aging Hacks is by a wonderful plant-based author and journalist, Karen Asp. It's about 101 fabulous suggestions for looking younger. And Ageless Vegan by Tracy, I'm blanking on, there she is, Tracy McWhorter and her wonderful mother, Mary McWhorter. They wrote this book when they had both been vegan for 30 years. And Tracy was 50 and her mom was 80. So this works for everybody all the time. Now, I'm going to be sprinkling throughout this presentation role models, and certainly Tracy McWhorter and her mom are in that category. And so is Ellen Jaffe Jones. She is nationally ranked as a runner and fabulous, amazing woman.